You are listening to the Awakened Radio Network. Visit our website at www.awakenedradio.net, where you can find out all about the Awakened Radio host, take part in our forum, and chat with us in our live mobile chat room. Want to listen on the go? Go to tunein.com, download their free app, and search for Awakened Radio. We are always here for you on the Awakened Radio Network. Have you experienced the power of one? A brand new challenge for all of our hosts and listeners at the Awakened Radio Network is the power of one. One person taking one action. And through the power of agreement, that action creating mightily. Find out all about the power of one at awakenedradio.net. Discover how you can help to create with other people, one person at a time. Awakened Radio is brought to you in part by the Awakened Store at awakenedradio.net. You'll find autographed copies of Donna Devaine's books, guided meditations by Ragozzine and Donna Devane, Native American style dream catchers, medicine gemstone jewelry, stones, crystals, and a whole lot more. Support the Awakened Radio Network by visiting the Awakened Store today. awakenedradio.net. We understand and activate the power of one.
Welcome to Simply Conversations. I'm your host, Rob Ragozzine. The show airs every Sunday at 9 p.m. East, 8 Central. Each week we have a new conversation exploring the life of someone who's listening to the wisdom within their hearts. Join us as we open the door for these uplifting and courageous people. Their work has helped to transform their lives, and it ultimately helps to support, heal, and grow their communities. Listen to our discussion and be inspired. Feel free to take part in our chat room or on the phone. Ask questions and chat with our guests. This show is brought to you by simplyconversations.com. I'm your host of Simply Conversations. It's April 6th, 2014. Tonight my guest is Derek Roche. He's been interested in the healing arts from a young age and earned a BA in philosophy and an MA in international development studies at Carleton University in Ottawa. And he spent 3 years working for the United Nations Development Program in Latin America, and then he went on to study about allergy elimination techniques as well as zero balancing. So with that, we welcome Derek on. Hello, Derek.
Hello, Rob.
How are you tonight?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm great.
I'm glad to hear it.
Well, Derek, I wanted to know what drew you at such a young age to the healing arts? What fostered that within you?
I'm not sure. Just a certain compassion and sensitivity towards people who were suffering, even my little friends and maybe even my siblings, that sort of thing. I just had a certain sensitivity, and then I started getting more and more interested in what causes these sorts of things, and which led me to my various courses of study, as you said, philosophy originally, and eventually traditional acupuncture.
Can you tell us a little bit about the working for the United Nations? That sounds fascinating.
It was fascinating. Having graduated with an MA in international affairs, I was hired as a program officer, and we were sent down to South America. But as it turned out, all of my desire to help people and make the world a better place and help developing countries in particular I found very difficult because of the huge, enormous bureaucracy that's the United Nations. So I spent 3 years working through that, but it became clear that it wasn't exactly what I had in mind. And at that time, I left the school and went looking for something that's a little bit more personal, a little bit more hands-on. And very shortly thereafter, I found a college of acupuncture in England, which I attended when my wife was over there studying at Cambridge.
Yeah, how was that study?
That was fascinating. That was absolutely life-changing. I had no idea what I was in for, but it was a remarkable course that showed me a different way of looking at the world and looking at healthcare and looking at people and emotions and all that. When you begin to see the world not only as a physical but an energetic place, and everything changes. It's the way that you hear physicists talking all the time about everything being energy and that sort of thing. You start to realize that the possibilities are endless.
They're endless, and we all can tune into it. It's not something that's just for a few separate people.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
So how are you working with this? How have you worked with this concept in your life now?
Well, for the last almost 20 years, I've been working as an acupuncturist, and it's been an absolutely fabulous job. And I'm often quoting Einstein. When they asked him how he enjoyed his work, he said, I never worked a day in my life. And I feel fortunate enough to work in acupuncture in that sense that every day is a wonderful new experience and a new way of connecting with people.
What's a common complaint, Derek, that people have when they come to see you?
Well, I'm not sure statistically. I do treat a lot of allergies, but it's not. It's something that I can do very effectively, but it's not my particular passion. It's not my interest. What I'm interested in is what the Chinese would call sort of spiritual level healing, which deals with emotions and beliefs and how we create our own reality. So I help people in that way and hope to steer them towards their own healing.
Now, how does acupuncture help with that?
Well, there's a life energy flowing through our bodies. Interestingly, which Western science doesn't even consider. They look at the body as being a series of chemicals and tissues and that sort of thing. But in fact, there is a life energy. There is something very different about a deceased body and a live body. And the Chinese have been working with that life energy for centuries now, thousands of years. And they've discovered that it flows through the body in little streams and can be accessed at certain points. And so you can treat the body using acupuncture, tapping into these little streams of energy. And if it's excess, you can take it out. And if there's a deficiency, you can add some in, and you can help to balance people that way.
So the placement, Derek, of the needles can help with that?
It can, but it goes beyond that too. As I mentioned earlier, it's like physics. The attitude and the focus of the practitioner is as important as where the point is. So, and this gets a little bit hazy and very difficult for people to understand. But if I look at a particular point, it could be good for helping release constipation or reducing headaches. But it may also be helpful in letting go of old emotions that are no longer serving somebody and helping them, develop spiritually or just see the world in a different way.
What about the client, Derek? How are they facilitating the letting go, the release, healing? How can they facilitate that?
Well, without even realizing it, I think that they just come in and a skillful practitioner will ask the right questions and be a certain way in the room with the person that allows them to feel comfortable. And then they begin to show what their blockages are, perhaps sometimes without even realizing what that is. So that I'll be talking to someone about a grievous situation, for example, a loved one lost. And then we'll go on later on to start talking about how spring is coming and how beautiful it is. And I'll realize that the person's not coming out of the grief that we spoke about earlier. And you realize there's some sort of blockage there. And so there are all kinds of ways that patients indicate to the practitioner what it is that needs treating.
But is there any way they can do things when they get home or some other time?
Interesting question. There is, but my preference in healing is not to tell people what to do and go home. It's almost like the story about teaching a man to fish so he can feed himself the rest of his life, rather than just giving him a fish. What you do with acupuncture is open up blockages and raise consciousness so that when people go home, they start making their own good decisions. They start to realize when they go for the Coca-Cola or the bag of chocolate chip cookies that maybe this isn't the best decision, and maybe they should try something else.
So it's about recognizing your choices are important.
Yes, absolutely, and starting to get a sense of what the right choices are. I think that this is why the Chinese have a beautiful approach in that if the spirit isn't engaged in the healing, then there's not much chance of healing occurring. So that you need to put people back in touch with their, whether you call it the soul or their center or their knowing or their wisdom. That's really the job, I think, of any healing practitioner, is just to help the person return to a natural state, which is why I've now moved on. I still do acupuncture, but now I'm starting to run these retreats, which I'm sure you know about, where we bring people out to the country and give them high quality foods and peace and quiet, and do meditation and yoga, and help them to return to a centeredness where they know themselves what's good and bad and helpful and not.
Can you talk a little bit more about that?
The retreats themselves?
Yeah.
Yeah, I started them last fall, and I was sitting there. It was, like many epiphanies I have during meditation. I was sitting quietly on the back porch looking over the lake and listening to the birds, feeling the wind, and I thought, how can I run my life so I can spend more time in a place like this, or in this place in particular? And it just dawned on me that I could combine my love of the healing arts and my love of nature in this beautiful cottage in the middle of nowhere. And so I started advertising, and it was all quiet, and I didn't get anybody. And then I got one woman called and said, your timing is perfect. I'm all stressed, and I'd love to attend. And so we were off and running. And then from there, a number of other people called and joined, and we had a couple of full weekends. And I cooked beautiful vegetarian. I enjoy cooking like my father. I cooked all kinds of vegetarian meals, and we did yoga in the living room and meditation, and people all went home feeling much better than when they arrived, and wrote very nice notes to me, and so we're on our way. So the second series now is coming up this May and June, and in addition to that, I'm going to teach cooking. I'm going to show people how to create sauerkraut, because I've started to understand the importance of intestinal flora and the huge crisis all over North America right now with candida, yeast infections, and the overuse of antibiotics, and both from medical practitioners, but also in food. A lot of the beef that people are eating and dairy that people are eating are full of antibiotics. So all of this antibiotic resistance problem and everything can be dealt with by improving our own intestinal flora. So that's every retreat. I seem to add something new on whatever I'm passionate about at the time.
Derek, have you used kombucha?
Yes, I have. I've tried a whole number of things over the years. But yeah, there are all kinds of fermented products. It's something that generations previous to us did all the time, and still do in certain European countries. But I think we've lost a lot of that. And even yogurt, for example, that's got some wonderful products, is now filled with sugar and additives and fruit and everything that, in fact, end up killing most of the helpful bacteria. So sugar is something else we can talk at length about.
Now, when you go grocery shopping, how does that look like, Derek?
Well, I always I revert back to Michael Pollan in his book, The Omnivore's Dilemma. Eat real food, not too much, and mostly vegetables. So when I go shopping, there's very little that's been refined or packaged. It's primarily vegetables and fruits and vegetables primarily, and then legumes and other things. I like to make my homemade hummus and that sort of thing. So I buy chickpeas and tahini, but I'm mostly vegetarian. It's not that I'm against meat eating. I think another brilliant person that I met years ago said that eat what you can and don't worry about it. And I thought that was wonderful advice. But the problem being now that so much of our food is laced with pesticides and antibiotics and that sort of thing. So I think if people are going to have animal products, they should be very careful to make them organic.
Pasture-raised, farm-fed.
Yeah, it's the whole factory farming thing where you have thousands of mistreated animals, cows and pigs and chickens, and they're all full of antibiotics and other drugs and chemicals, and it's really not the safe or healthy food for people to be eating. So I think we have to get away from that for a number of reasons, for the environment and for our own health. We need to start looking at other ways of farming.
Now, Derek, do your clients ask you about this? Do you teach classes?
I don't. Some do, but most people aren't interested. It's, I love the expression, you can't push the river. I find you take people where they are on the spectrum of resistance. So, some people are ready and willing. I've been ill for a number of years. I'm sick and tired of it, and I want to do something about this, and others don't want to hear about it. They like their whatever it is. They like eating hamburgers, and they like drinking excessively with coffee or alcohol or whatever, and they're not ready to hear it yet. So I just take people where they are and answer the questions as honestly as I can.
So it's not about forcing them, Derek. So
no,
helping them find
not.
their own path.
Yeah. To a certain extent, you can gently guide. You have people asking questions, and you tell them. Even after my retreats, I suspect, people go home and they go back to many of their old habits, and they may not even continue meditating on a regular basis. But it's a start. You just plant the seed, and eventually, when people are ready, they will find their own way.
Now, Derek, have you been in contact with the people who've done the retreat?
Yes, I have, and I've got some wonderful. As a matter of fact, one woman, the one I mentioned earlier, the first one to sign up, has been absolutely wonderful. She's now volunteering to come back and help cook, and she wants to come with her husband for a retreat, and she's now helping me with pamphlets and flyers, and so she's been a real godsend, a real angel, and many of the others have written me nice notes saying how much they appreciated it and how much it helped them in their lives.
Can you remember, Derek, a particular conversation that really inspired you to make the choices that you're making now?
No, I think it's a whole series of events throughout life, one thing after another. I'm trying to go back. Yeah, I had some friends when I was a child. As a matter of fact, it was quite interesting. I always had very unusual looking hands, and I think that's where it started quite young with a bunch of nurses, where a nurse we were getting, I think, inoculated or vaccinated for something, and this is something like grade 2, and one of them said, "Oh my God, look at his hands," and they all came over and they're all looking at my hands and made me feel very embarrassed about it, but years later I started thinking maybe these hands look this way because they're meant to be used in the healing field. And so I ran with that one for a while. And no, it's been a series of, I've been very supportive of my parents, my brothers and sisters, and now my wife and my own children. They all help along the way.
We had a question from the chat room, Derek, and that's, I guess, does acupuncture hurt? From someone that hasn't had it.
It would be a lie to say that it doesn't hurt at all. Most of the time, it feels like a mosquito bite. I mean, it's very. Some people don't feel it at all. Everyone's different. I think the ones who feel it the most are the ones that are expecting it to hurt the most. So they tense up, but they're tiny, very fine needles. They're almost like the thickness of a hair, and you can tie them in a knot. They're so thin. And with a skilled practitioner, I think that you can be almost pain-free. I've done it with children who haven't felt it at all, so it's all about the technique that's used. There are those, I don't know how many acupuncturists are listening to this, but there are those practitioners who feel that pain is part of it, and that without the pain you don't get as much benefit. And to a certain extent that's true, but not all the time. I think when you stick a needle in someone in a certain place, they focus their energy very intensely on that spot where you're doing it, and I think that actually empowers the treatment a little bit. But if my focus is good and clear, and I know what I'm doing, it's not necessary to feel pain.
Now, how can they prepare to come see you? Because they might have seen someone else or someone like you, and
right.
They might be afraid to go back.
Well, I always give free 15-minute consults for people like that. I don't want anybody coming in a state of fear. That's not going to help the healing process at all. So people will come in and they'll get a sense of who I am and what my beliefs are. I'll tell them about acupuncture needles and show them, and maybe even do it on myself just to show them that it's relatively pain-free. But there's no real preparation other than just coming and being ready to be yourself and be open.
Okay. Do you feel like you're a part of a growing community, Derek?
I do. It's quite wonderful to see over the years. I've been doing this almost 20 years now. And then at the beginning, there were very few medical practitioners, for example, that could recommend people to me. But increasingly now I've got all kinds of professionals, nurses and doctors, and even other alternative practitioners who refer people to me, and I refer back to them. So there's a growing community. Also, I found initially it was very difficult to work with alternative practitioners. It's quite interesting. Many of them feel that what they do is all that anybody really needs. So if you're a chiropractor, all people need are, adjustments or whatever they're doing. If you're a naturopath, you can, discuss diet and herbs and that sort of thing. So to work in a team like that is very difficult to refer. But I think over the years, people now are starting to understand the strengths and the weaknesses of their particular modality. And so now it's much easier to work with people. And I have many good friends in the industry, and we all refer back and forth.
How does that feel?
Good. It's wonderful, and I think it's better for the clients as well. I have a massage therapist friend here in St. Catharines, and she sends people my way, and vice versa. So I don't feel that acupuncture can fix everything. So when it looks like it's something that massage therapy would help, and I send them over that way. And it's a much what's the word for it? It just feels like a better way of practicing.
Now, Derek, in all of your practicing, not just the acupuncture, what was one of your biggest aha moments?
Well, I guess in terms of exponential growth, the big aha moments were in the college itself. Extremely powerful when you start to first see the impact that these tiny little needles and focus can have on patients. And then, there have been countless aha moments ever since then with anyone who walks through the door. You never, when we live our lives without being a practitioner, for example, we don't see everything that's going on in people's lives, all of the suffering and the pain and the illness and the fatigue and that sort of thing. So when someone comes through the door, you just think, oh, this person looks, relatively healthy. I wonder what's going on here. But, inevitably, when they start talking about what they're going through, you realize that everybody has some sort of suffering going on, whether it's emotional or physical. And so there's aha moments every time I get together with a new client.
Derek, that's inspiring. You're just saying, wow, I get to see my universe through the eyes of everyone that comes through the door.
Yes. Yeah. And to learn and to have the honor of actually dealing with people in their raw state, that when they are willing to open up to, often a perfect stranger and let me know. That's when I know I've done my job, when someone feels comfortable enough to tell me all of their deep truths and their dark pains and their, the things that have happened to them in their lives. And that helps me tremendously in my ability to treat them. But it's not always easy, as you know, to open up and be vulnerable like that.
Now, we only have about 5 minutes until break. Can you share some ways which people can reach you?
Which they can reach me, yes. My retreat blog is called naturalhealingretreats.com, and there's a hyphen between each word because I think the original was gone. So natural-healing-retreats.com. And if you go onto the website, you can see all of my blogs. I've written fairly extensively about diet and about meditation and about yoga and anything that comes to mind. Anything else? And on there I think there's my email address, and there's the retreat information and all kinds of things.
So right from that site they can reach you through Facebook, Twitter, and email.
That's right. I'm also on Facebook. I've got two pages. One is my Natural Healing Retreats page, and one is just my normal Facebook.
And like you mentioned already, you have a great blog that talks about all kinds of health-related topics.
Indeed. Everything from health, healing, emotions. People, whenever someone asks me a question, I'll, as a practitioner, I'll often go. And the other day, someone asked me about the Eat Right for Your Blood Type. And that became a very popular book and sold 7 million copies. And I've had a number of clients ask me about it, so I finally wrote a blog on it.
Well, what did you write about it?
Well, in a word, I think it's complete nonsense. I think it's a sham. There have been countless scientists looking into it to see if there's anything at all to it, and there's been no proof anywhere that Eat Right for Your Blood Type works for any reason. I think anyone who read the book, changed their diet, and felt better probably just felt better because they had changed their diet, and I don't think any of the blood types are supposed to be drinking Coca-Cola or eating donuts or anything. So people often cleaned up their diets and they thought that this Eat Right for Your Blood Type really worked, but I don't think there's any good science behind any of it. And the author himself even announced that he was doing all kinds of studies, a 10-year study on one thing and another study on rheumatoid arthritis, but interestingly, none of the results have ever been published. So I think he probably found there was no plausible results either.
Okay, so you can find that article and others on Derek's site. What about any upcoming appearances? Will you be doing any talks or anything?
Just no. I'm now gearing towards. I've got a month to go before the retreats start, so I'm working towards that. But no talking engagements of it, and to individual patients who come through my door.
And any helpful advice to people before they have to show up to see you?
I've got all kinds of helpful advice. You're at 9:28. Do you want to talk about that now, or?
Well, just a parting nugget of wisdom.
Yeah, well, I think diet is very important, and if I were to sum up all of my advice to people in the last few years, it would be meditation. I think meditation is absolutely key to health and well-being. Our world is so fast-paced and stressed, and we're overworking and overthinking, and we're with far too many emotions and that sort of thing. And I think meditation brings it all down to a quiet center where we can have moments of stillness and peace, which are hugely healing and also hugely revealing in terms of how we should continue on with our lives, and what maybe the things that we're doing wrong and that we should correct or we can correct.
Okay, and with that, we're going to break.
And now a word from our Awakened Radio sponsors. Do you have health and medical problems the regular medical system cannot seem to figure out how to fix? If the answer is yes, then check out rifeenergymedicine.com. That is Rife, spelled R-I-F-E, rifeenergymedicine.com, for a new way to approach many of your health problems. rifeenergymedicine.com. Check out Thrival with DonnaDevane.com. Find out all about the author, radio show host, life teacher, and coach Donna Devane at thrivalwithdonnadevane.com. Be sure and check out her new Kindle books at Amazon.com. Awakened Radio is also brought to you by the Awakened Store right here at awakened.net/Awakened Store, where you can find handcrafted jewelry, Native American dream catchers, smudge kits, medicine bags, hair feathers, books, audio guided meditations, and a whole lot more. Check us out at awakendradio.net/Awakened Store.
Welcome to Simply Conversations. I'm your host, Rob Ragozzine. The show airs every Sunday at 9 p.m. East, 8 Central. Each week we have a new conversation exploring the life of someone who's listening to the wisdom within their hearts. Join us as we open the door for these uplifting and courageous people. Their work has helped to transform their lives, and it ultimately helps to support, heal, and grow their communities. Listen to our discussion and be inspired. Feel free to take part in our chat room or on the phone. Ask questions and chat with our guests. This show is brought to you by simplyconversations.com. If you have any questions for Derek, you can come to awakenradio.net and click on the live chat tab and ask us a question in chat, or call us via Skype. Just contact Awaken Radio or dial 334-649-7204. And we were talking with Derek just before the break about meditation. And maybe you can expound on that a little bit, Derek. Maybe you can lead us in a short meditation.
Okay. And maybe we can talk about it just for a moment first. I've been studying meditation for some time now, and I've developed various theories about it. And again, on my blog, I've written a number of articles on it. There are all sorts of misconceptions about meditation that I think it's helpful to clarify. Things like, I have to be sitting do I have to be sitting in a lotus position, or is meditation all about concentration? Someone asked me if when I'm sitting around having a cup of tea, thinking about things, is that meditation? And the answer to that last question is no. Also, meditation is not concentration. It's actually deconcentration, in the sense that concentration requires effort, while meditation is supposed to be, or ideally, the absolute relaxation of the mind. I often teach meditation by talking about a caged dog, and I think our minds are, particularly very active minds, are just like dogs running around and then going crazy inside of a cage. And the key to meditation is to take the mind and calm it and make it sit still and not disturb you any further. Meditation also is not a religious practice. It precedes all religions. It's been around for many, many years, thousands of years rather. Let's see. meditation is only for old people or guru types. I think ideally the world would be a better place if meditation was started with children as young as 8 or 9 years old. And meditation isn't about hypnotizing yourself, or it isn't about thought control. It's about sitting quietly and not reacting, not judging what it is that's coming up. I think that the quote that I like is, mindfulness is the art of being fully present in the moment without judgment. And it's a matter of just sitting there calmly, and thoughts will come. You can't stop them, but you can just quietly observe them like clouds floating by in the sky and not react to them. So that gives you a general idea of what meditation is. Now, one of the keys to finding this state is to one of the ways of calming the mind is to use one of the senses to I hesitate to say focus on, but to channel our energies towards, so that visually, for example, someone could stare at a candle for a time. People also can listen to music if it's a gentle instrumental type of music that's calming. You can burn incense, so you get the sense of smell. The key is to just bring it into the present moment, which is why something like the breath is so critically important. So if people, the first thing that I always teach in meditation is breathing. And if you can get someone to just sit quietly and focus on their breath without necessarily controlling it or changing it all, just observing how the body breathes, then you immediately come into the present moment. You can't be anywhere else. If you're just looking at your breath, then you're not thinking about, what you have to do tomorrow. You're not emotionally attached to days gone by. You're just in the present moment. So that's the key, is to become absolutely present. Now, as far as is instructing people, it's useful in meditation for people to come into their bodies. I think we, on a daily basis, we're going around and we're just a little brain being carried around by our core bodies. And the key is to come into your body, so that we start meditation by scanning the body, telling people to bring your attention to your feet, and then relax your feet, and then bring your attention to your legs and relax your legs, and so on throughout the body until you're fully engaged in your body and you've relaxed all of the parts that need relaxing. And then at that point, you can begin to look at the breath. And then you sit and listen and watch the breath, and that's all. It's as simple as that. And when a thought comes up and you go drifting off, going, oh my God, I forgot to grocery shop tomorrow, then you go, you observe and you go, oh, I've lost the breath. I'll have to come back to it. And that's why it's called a practice. The key is to just practice coming back to the moment where you're in the present, in a relaxed state. And the more that you do it, the easier it becomes to do, so that you don't have to be sitting at home in the quiet. You could be meditating on a bus on the way to work. You could be, meditating in any number of different situations. Yoga, for example, which is movement and talking and all kinds of stuff, is a type of moving meditation, so that people are focused on their breathing if it's being practiced correctly. While they're moving and while they're even straining and going, stretching and doing all kinds of things, that itself can be a very helpful kind of meditation.
That's a lot of information to take in there. Thank you, Derek.
My wife said to prepare for this, you have to just have a couple of, short points, but I've got all this stuff in my head. And when you ask a question about meditation, it all just comes pouring out.
Well, I just thought it might be helpful to, rather than talk about it, just to help lead us in one.
Sure. Okay, I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
All right, so you're sitting comfortably. People ask me about lying down and that sort of thing. Ideally, you don't want to be so relaxed. You don't want to be lying in your bed for sure, but even lying down any time, the body then begins to think, okay, fine, lying down, this is when I go to sleep. So it's ideal to find yourself sitting upright with your back straight in a comfortable position, but alert and upright. And then, as I mentioned, you can start to scan your body, see if there's any tension in the feet. And if there is, let that go. Moving up the legs, if there's tension in the calves, just relax the calves and the feet. And then the upper legs, so that your entire lower body is feeling relaxed and heavy. Next, you can go to your hands and relax those. Let your arms settle down. Your head and face. Your shoulders. Your back. And your torso, so that everything is calm and relaxed. Now close your eyes and just observe your breath. Feel your stomach and your chest gently rise and gently fall. Allow any thoughts that come up to come and go, but return to observing the breath. Feel the cool air moving in through your nose and out again. And normally then I would allow people to sit in this state for 15 to 20 minutes.
It certainly feels relaxing.
Yeah, it is. You can see there are miraculous things that can happen through meditation, and it's very difficult to describe. It's just people need to have faith to realize that it is an important thing to do, and they can only come to the realization of how important by doing it themselves. It helps with your concentration. It helps with your energy. It helps you cope with stresses and emotions. You begin to see the world in a better place, and you're not reacting all the time to everything. Rather than you become a quiet observer, and it sort of brings out. I think we all have an internal wisdom that's just dying to get out, but for various reasons, whether it's busyness or fear or indifference, we don't allow this wisdom to rise up and help us in our lives. And this is what meditation can do.
Derek, do you think people begin to see how busy and stressed and chaotic their lives actually are?
Yes. I imagine, many of your listeners who, if they were doing the meditation with us, would have realized how much tension they hold in their shoulders or other areas, or how difficult it is to actually calm the mind, particularly in an overstimulated mind, with caffeine and other drugs and medications, that sort of thing. So it is something that takes practice, but well worth it.
Now, what do you tell the clients that ask, well, what do I do now?
You mean after the meditation?
After they begin to realize just the level of stress.
Yeah. Well, those are many of my clients. They come to me. Acupuncture, among other things, is a very relaxing and stress relieving treatment. But breathing exercise itself is wonderful. I think when we're living in our minds and everything is too intellectual, I think exercise is tremendously important. I mean, you need to get out and physically. This is why not only I promote exercise, but getting back in touch with the earth, whether it's growing your own vegetables or gardening or walking in nature, that sort of thing. Just reconnecting with what's real.
Especially after this winter.
Yes, it was a doozy, that's for sure. But, that's funny you should say that, though. I found that I even had more patience with the weather, as everyone was going, my God, this has been such a long winter. I find that through meditation I have more patience to accept what is, basically, and, take lightly what is.
You find for yourself that as you meditate, more and more people show up?
That's been so far. I've just started the retreats last fall. Is that what you mean? Show up in the sense of my acupuncture practice or my?
I guess as you deepen, the other people show up on the outside.
Yes, yeah, that is quite true. It's fascinating how the world works. It works in fascinating and mysterious ways. So that the more the more centered I am, and the more able I am to take on people's things, the more people do show up, either at the retreats or my acupuncture practice.
Now, we talked about acupuncture, and I know that's not all you do, but I had a question around how to find a good acupuncturist. I guess we lost Derek, and we'll try to get him back. So we're talking about acupuncture and healing and meditation with Derek Roche, and I was just looking at how to find a good acupuncturist, because I know from my own experiences that it's a couple different tries. I mean, I had one where half the staff was coming to the treatment room. That was kind of weird. So, the do interviews of your practitioners may be a very good thing to do in your life, especially if you're looking for someone like Derek. And I think he's back with us.
Yes, I am back.
And I was just talking about interviewing your practitioner. That's
I'm
good,
sorry. Interviewing what?
Before you go to some practitioner, like acupuncturist, ask them questions, how they treat you.
Yes. Well, it's very important. It differs from state to state and province to province, but not all, particularly acupuncturists, are regulated. I think chiropractors are, naturopaths are, and now Ontario has got regulated practitioners, but it might be important to see what their credentials are, because for years anybody could hang a sign on the door and say, I'm an acupuncturist, and treat people. And then even within that, there are different schools and things, that sort of thing. I think it's useful to get a recommendation from a client who's had a good experience, both in how they were handled and hopefully in the outcome of their treatments.
So to talk with other people that have been through the office of the practitioner.
Yes, it's often a good idea to get a recommendation. You never know who you're going to see and what they're going to be like. So, but you can also research these things with the internet. You can look up people's credentials and where they studied and that sort of thing. Sometimes there's even websites that rate these practitioners.
So, Derek, how would people know to seek you out in particular?
That's a very good question. It's often the very last recourse, which is unusual, and even then, I think acupuncture does remarkably well. But people, often go to a doctor first, or they'll go through a whole host of different practitioners. Originally, because of what you said, I think people may be afraid of needles, or they don't understand acupuncture. So it's practiced completely differently than it was in ancient China. It was originally developed as a way of treating people and maintaining their health, and that people kept their acupuncturists their whole life until they got ill, and then they fired them because they hadn't done their job. Whereas now it's the absolute opposite. We get people coming in who've been through everyone else, and they've tried everything under the sun, and now they're desperate for us to try and do something. And even then, it works remarkably well. But I think the way people should do it is to find a good acupuncturist and see them on a regular basis, maybe seasonally, 4 times a year, just to maintain their health and undo blockages and that sort of thing.
Now, Derek, do you recommend detoxing?
It all depends on the person and where they are. I think a lot of mistakes are made with too severe a detox. I'm personally into vegetable juicing and that kind of thing. That's a wonderful and gentle kind of detox because it flushes things out and it binds with heavy metals and it gives you all sorts of minerals and vitamins in the meantime. So it's not as extreme. I know other detoxes, whether they're using herbal formulas or they're just doing long-term fasting or that kind of thing, can be hard on the body depending on what state it's in.
Which I guess brings up another good point. Whatever you're doing, be gentle to your body.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I think people sometimes go too hard on their bodies, and that's true of athletes and training and everything. Again, it's the mind that takes over and just starts doing something. So people overwork because they feel they have to, or they overtrain because they think they have to. But that's all in the mind. It's not the actual physical body that's telling them to do that. So, and again, meditation can give you a body awareness that helps you to avoid extremes. I think we have to be loving and gentle to our bodies. And that's all we really have, actually.
And like you said earlier, spend some time outside and just walk. Let go of stress.
Yes. Yeah, it's all balance. It's all about balance. The Chinese have had it right for thousands of years. I think that everyone else is just coming around and seeing it now. When you spend too much time indoors and spend some time outdoors, if you spend too much time thinking, then do physical labor. Just try and find balance. If you find yourself getting overly stressed, and find find a way of laughing or of relaxing or seeing the lighter side of life.
Now, Derek, do you recommend support groups?
I do. I think they're very important, and that's one of the failings so far in my retreats, because people come, they learn, good diet and meditation techniques and yoga, but then they all go back to their homes and their jobs and their normal way of life. And I think support groups are very important. I think that they help people stay on track. I know I probably wouldn't practice yoga if I didn't go to a center here, and I practice yoga daily now only because they're there. Because I have a time set out in my day. So I will be developing support groups or meditation groups or yoga groups in Ottawa, so that when people leave, they can continue to gather with you. So it's interesting in terms of energetic medicine, like we were talking earlier. It's not only important in that it gets people to do it, but I think it's more powerful too. I'm always reminded by a quote from the Bible: when 2 or more are gathered in my name. It was a quote by Jesus, I believe. And it occurred to me when I was meditating in a group how much more powerful it is when everybody in the room has found that state of calm and stillness. It seems to enhance everybody else's practice. So it's useful to have a group for a number of reasons.
From my own experience, I think it's a wonderful idea, because it helps you to deepen your practice because everyone else is doing it. You have that idea that other people are doing it, and it provides ongoing support for yourself.
Yes, exactly. And just very simply gets you out the door, you might be sitting there thinking, I'm too tired, I don't want to do it tonight. But if you have a group that you go to regularly, you go and you do it, even when, on the days when you don't feel like doing it. And that's really important, if you can push through and make it a regular practice.
Well, Derek, it looks like we've come to the end of the show. Had more questions, but I guess I have to hold those for another time. Can you share how to reach you again?
Yes, naturalhealingretreat.com. And I can give my email as well if people just want to ask me questions. It's all one word, Derek Roche 01 @gmail.com. So that's DEREKROCHE 01 @gmail.com. I'm happy to answer anyone's questions.
And I'll have that in the forum as well.
Good.
So that people can find it. And is there any way for people to sign up for the classes, or is it too late?
There are a couple of spots left in one or two retreats this spring, and then I'm having a whole new series of retreats in September and October. So yes, there are spots.
Okay. So what are the classes about?
I'm sorry?
What will the retreats be about?
Oh, well, we'll be teaching people, we'll have daily yoga classes, and we'll be teaching people meditation techniques, a whole variety of them, and just be doing, we do walks in nature. One of the yoga teachers also teaches wild edibles, so she's able to take people around and show them what's in the forest that we can actually use and benefit from. So there's all kinds of different things we do there.
Okay, so if they're interested in those kinds of things, they can seek you out.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you, Derek, for coming on the show.
My pleasure, Rob. Thank you for having me.
Enjoy the meditation. Thank you.
All right, bye for now.
Bye. That was Derek Roche, and we'll have his links on the forum. Now, we have, I'd like to talk about being a sponsor here at Awaken Radio. If you can provide us with a 30-second audio script, it'll be played 3 times during the broadcast for the show, and halfway at the introduction, halfway at the break, and at the end. So since we have 4 shows a month at a minimum, your ad will be played 12 times, so it's a great way to get the word out about your business. We also have Thrive Magazine going on, so if you would like to get your articles, art, or poetry published in a magazine that has a growing community all over the world, then you can come to awakenedradio.net and click on the Thrive Magazine button and contact Donna and contribute your works, and we'll share your link and bio back to your website. So it's a great opportunity to get exposure for your work and share it with interested people. And if you're so inclined and you enjoyed our shows, listener and host supported, these are always really appreciated. We're here at no cost to you. So on your heart, click the donate buttons at the top of the screen's yellow button that says donate. Thanks for listening tonight. We had a great show with Derek. So if you can find a way to meditate, then that would be very helpful for you to connect in and release stress, release doubt, release worry. And then we had the walkthrough with meditation. So you could connect with that and see that see the level of stress within you, see the level of doubt, see the level of worry. And that's what we talk about on many of the other shows here at Awakened Radio. And if you can teach that too, then you can come and be a host. We're looking for new hosts at Awakened Radio. So you can come to awakenedradio.net, click on the Be a Host tab, and contact Donna. And it's a great way to bring your expertise out into the world and have people know you for what you know. And I've been doing it since 2012, and it's been a great experience for me. So I highly recommend becoming a host here at Awaken Radio. So thanks for listening tonight. Stay tuned next week for another great guest here on Simply Conversations. And perhaps you can spend some time this week meditating and connecting inward and developing the meditation practice for yourself. It's a great opportunity, like we said, to release stress and learn more about yourself. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.
Cause we're awakened, you won't catch us sleeping through the fight in life. We're all eyes open, showing our inside and light so bright. We are awakened. Come and join our love, it's so right. If you could feel what we feel now, you'd be a leader filled with might. Cause we're awakened, you won't catch us